Yesterday, during a conference in Washington, Democratic Senator Mazie Hirono explaining why Democrats have a hard time connecting with voters. They're just too smart. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, joining us is former Speaker of the House, author of the bestseller Trump's America, The Truth About Our Nation's Great Comeback, Newt Gingrich. All right, when you read this thing on General Flynn, we find out, okay, that there are only 2 known instances in which individuals have been indicted for violating the Logan Act, the last of which came in 1853. And neither indictment resulted in conviction. And the other one that's mentioned is the Farrow Law. And we know that the DOJ issued a report that tallied all the prosecutions under Farrow since 1966. That would be 7 cases with 1 conviction. Is this how deep we go to get a guy that served 33 years in the military that the FBI didn't believe was lying?
Sure. I mean, look, you have to understand, Mueller's not involved in a investigation. Mueller has a Trump destruction project. He brought on a team, all of them dedicated to destroying Trump. They've done everything they could to destroy Trump. And part of that technique, which frankly, Sidney Powell described brilliantly in her book, License to Lie, about the Justice Department, part of that technique is you throw the kitchen sink. You basically threaten somebody and say, I'm going to bankrupt you. I'm going to put your son in jail. I'm going to charge you with so many different crimes, you'll never get out from under it. Now, would you like to talk? And when you have the full power of the federal government against you, it's pretty tough not to try to find a way to get them off your back. But it has nothing to do with the truth. It has nothing to do with justice. And Mueller, I think, in a really sad, historians someday will comment that this was one of the most extraordinary efforts to undo the will of the American people by an established bureaucracy and its establishment friends that we've seen in all of American history. And I want to make one quick point, just to put this in context. Donald Trump, after 92% negative coverage for 2 years, 92% negative coverage for 2 years, is somewhere between 44 and 48% approval, depending on the poll. Ronald Reagan, about this point in 1983, was at 35%. The fact is that Macron, the wonder boy of France, is now down at 25 or 26% and just had the worst riots in Paris in 50 years. So the whole notion that Mueller is now the person who's going to go out and save America by destroying the president, I think, is an anti-constitutional effort by the organized left.
So John Solomon just breaks this story. Now, we knew that they didn't verify the dossier, and it was not corroborated, which is part of their protocol
Sure.
and also part of the law. But now we see an email chain where they knew it had massive credibility problems. This is what he discovered, an email chain with all of these people's names in it that shows they knew that there were
Sure.
credibility problems to the very evidence that the bulk of evidence that was used to obtain the FISA warrants in the FISA applications, and they withheld all of that exculpatory information from the judges, as well as who paid for it, which was Hillary, and how it was a political document. How can they get away with that abuse of power?
Well, because they're the establishment. They're the fix. They're the insiders. They're the guys that the New York Times and the Washington Post and all the networks, except for Fox, all surround and protect them. They operated on a premise, and of course, they all thought Hillary was going to win. So they never thought this would come to light. They thought they were helping the winner. And I think it was an enormous shock election night to suddenly start, for Comey in particular, to suddenly start realizing that his neck was on the line. He'd been breaking the law. But he always thought he'd be protected. Everybody near the Clintons have been protected, as you pointed out earlier.
Comey's name is in this email chain. He's on the email chain. He signed off on that.
Of course. You had the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation actively trying to destroy a presidential candidate. You have the former head of the FBI, Bob Mueller, actively trying to destroy the President of the United States. I mean, there's a point here, and I know it's frustrating, but the fact is, this is a clear-cut drama. They hate him. They want to destroy him. It has nothing to do with the truth. and nothing to do with the law.
Well, if we don't get everyone else that lied, that we know lied, under oath, if Hillary's never held accountable, you could say we have no equal justice or application of our laws. And that's the scary part for every American. Mr. Speaker, thank you.